Hello and welcome to the Leverage Podcast. I'm your host, Paul Richard, and we are really pleased to have our guest here, Mikel Miller. And welcome to the podcast. It's good to have you, Mike.
So much. I appreciate you making the time and everything work today.
It's awesome. It's awesome. So we had a major event we're going to talk about on the podcast today that really brought some damaged roofs, et cetera, to the area. But before we do that, tell us a little bit about your business and Mike, a little bit of your background, if you would.
Sure. So I'll probably start with me because that's kind of how it went into the business. So I have a background as an insurance agent for State Farm for a little while, and then I decided I didn't want to be in a cubicle all day. So I got into the claims world. So I went from agent to adjuster, and I did that for I think about 7 or 8 years. Traveled all over the country, took my family with me, and we homeschooled the kids, and we got to see a lot of cool parts of the country. And we lived in Florida for a while, and the Carolinas and Texas and all over the place. Indiana, that was my least favorite. Sorry if you live in Indiana, but that was definitely not a fun one that we were in. It was in the winter time too. But we did that, and it was great. I learned a lot. We worked thousands of claims a year. I mean, we were very blessed, very busy. But it got to a point with the family where it was just too much. It was just too much traveling. Sometimes I'd have to go off at the drop of a hat. I'd get a call, and they'd say, "Hey, we need you in Dallas, Fort Worth tomorrow morning, yes or no?" And it's like, honey, okay, I got to go, So I remember one time, one of the ones is probably one of the worst memories that I don't know if I'll ever get rid of because I still feel it is I was called during my son's fifth birthday, my first son's fifth birthday. And I had to leave in the middle of the birthday party, and it was gut-wrenching. I mean, it almost makes me emotional now. I mean, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. So I had to my family had to take precedence over that, So
Yeah. Yep.
I was looking to get into another career, and I was like, I don't want to learn something new. I mean, I love what I do, getting on roofs, inspecting, writing estimates, talking to clients about their insurance policies, all that stuff. Like I was good at it. I enjoyed it. So a buddy of mine actually called me and said, "Hey, have you ever thought about selling roofs?" And I said, "No, I've bought about 1 million of them as an adjuster, but I've never sold any." So sure, I'm like, I'm off. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do right now. Sure. So I drove up to Iowa, and I did one of those old school apprenticeship types of things where I lived with the owner, and we ate, slept, drank, everything roofing. Like I learned the entire business. I didn't just learn the sales side, which is what most people do when they get into the industry. I learned the crews, the manufacturer side, the material side, the installation, the quality control, marketing, the business side, the tax side, all that stuff, right? I mean, I got a full immersive experience into that. Made a pretty good amount of money while I did it. It was a lot. I was away from my family for several months, but it jump started me into this new industry that was very similar to what I was already doing. So that's kind of how I navigated into that. So then after I worked with him in Iowa, I was like, I'm not staying in Iowa. Sorry. Again, the wintertime, I'm not a fan of the winter, right? So I was like, I'm going back home and I'm going to start a business. And I did. And we ran some pretty successful organizations on the East Coast while we were still out there. But then God called us back a little over 2 years ago and just said, "Hey, I need you in Branson." So, and that's where we have family, So we have Branson, Springfield. That's where we have family still. Lots of friends. I mean, it's home, it is. But we've been gone for a little while, working for insurance companies and everything. So that's why we're back in the area, and we love it. It's becoming home again, we don't have any plans on leaving or anything. But yeah, so I sold my portion of the business, on the East Coast and started a new branch here, Bold Roofing. So that's where we're at.
Fantastic. Great background. I'm wondering, from the standpoint of the severity of the storm that we had in Springfield here on April 28th, 2026, have you seen anything that severe in your history, or is that something that was very unusual?
I have. Now, it's very unusual for this area. I mean, you don't see
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. I mean, you see big hail, but I mean, when you're seeing hailstones literally go through the wood decking of the roof and into the house, that's some pretty terrifying stuff. You don't see that very You also don't see solar panels just shattered like I've been seeing them. They're usually hail resistant, but boy, I mean, they took a beating, and I don't know. Even I was even looking at a couple even brand new roofs, and they were destroyed. So even if you have a 1 year old roof and you're in that north to northwest or southwest side, pretty much the whole western side of Springfield, man, it's probably going to need to be replaced. I mean, it's in bad shape.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing. I was watching all the Facebook posts, and even at the airport, a lot of the pictures were from the airport parking lot up there in Springfield. And and some people, there was one lady I saw, she had bruises on her legs because literally the hailstone went through her windshield and hit her in the legs inside.
See that one? That's wild.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, crazy stuff like that. Just literally, just it's like dropping a bowling ball on your roof, right? And that kind of thing. Well, since you're in the industry, can you talk a little bit about, you know, all of a sudden people rush in, roofers rush in from all over the country when this thing happens. Can you talk a little bit about what you've seen, what you recommend, for people that are looking for somebody to, get their roof replaced? What goes on when something like this happens on a regional basis?
Well, one thing you're going to see a lot of the storm chasing companies, that are probably from Oklahoma, Texas. There's a lot of them in Texas. These Midwestern states that see a lot of hail, they've created their business model to chase storms. But it does pose a challenge because they need to appear local, right? Because everybody's concerned, and I would be too, because at the end of the day, you could have a great roofing company that is from out of town, do a very good job, very respectful, very honest, all that. All that's correct. That all could be good. But when they're gone and you have a leak because something happened, who do you call? I mean, they're not in town
Mm,
anymore. So
right.
that's really the biggest thing. It's not that they're a better roofer than we are or anything like that. It's just that when and if you have a problem, who do you call? And you don't dial the phone and it goes, dee, 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 dee. This number's no longer in service, you know? So
Right.
then you're up a creek. So that's what, and then we, as locals, we end up having to come in and fix that for people. They have to pay a repair cost that they normally wouldn't have to pay because they normally have a good warranty. So that's the main thing that's a big concern, you know. I'd say that's the biggest concern because again, there's a lot of good roofers out there. Just because they're out of town doesn't mean they're a bad roofer. They're going to do a bad job. But, they're going to come in and they're going to get a 24 hour, or they're going to go online and get a quick phone number. They can do that in 5 or 6 minutes through a company like CallRail or Grasshopper. There's several of them out there. They're going to call a UPS store or get one of those temporary like co-work locations, sign a quick lease, DocuSign, and now they are local in the area. Then they're going to go on Google and submit that new address that they just purchased, or either a UPS mailbox or that co-work location. And then in about 5 days, they're going to have a postcard that gives them a secret code. So then they can get on Google and then they can start having all their friends and family put on reviews to make it look like they're local and they're legitimate. So, with print shops that can print stuff out in 24 hours, I mean, they can look local real quick. They can look local really quickly.
Wow. I had no idea that it was to that extent, honestly, to do that. Well, you brought up an excellent point. It's really the follow on service in a lot of cases. In that case, what would you say the percentage of, the folks that really don't do the job right? Because I mean, you have to bring a crew in, right? This is a big job and that type of thing. So do they just bring the whole crew and bring in their trailers and bring in the whole thing on the spot? Is that what happens?
Initially, they're going to bring in like kind of phase one, they're going to bring in all their sales guys. So
Okay.
they're going to get them, fresh local business cards and everything, filled out real quick and get them shirts and a hat. And they're going to go to town, start knocking doors, talking to people in neighborhoods. So the first phase is really the sales phase on a storm model. It is for all of us, even us locals. I mean, we do that too. I mean, we're selling because people need you right now. They need you to see if there's enough damage to file a claim. They need you to help them patch up their roof if there's any holes or leaks or anything like that, anything blown off, which we've been doing a lot of. So they need that. So that's your opportunity as a company, as a salesperson, to present your company, to present yourself, and get potential work. That's how the business
Sure.
works. So that's
Yep.
nothing. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's just how it all works. So the out of towners, they just send their sales force first. They're going to sign up as many people as they possibly can, as fast as possible. They're going to hit their threshold of 2, 4, 5, 1,000 roofs. I don't know. I don't know how many their goal is. And then they're going to go into, okay, now we're going to go collect checks, talk to people about colors, answer any questions, get contracts signed, all that kind of stuff, like the detailed contracts with all the pricing and everything. And then they're going to move into another phase of what we call the build phase. And that's going to be where they're just going to call in all the crews and like, okay, we've got three are going on today, three are going on tomorrow. We got three different crews. We got a guy jumping from job to job to check them. So it's multiple phases. But right now it's sales phase forever.
Got it. What kind of door-to-door tactics would you say homeowners need to be aware of?
I'd say the biggest one, well, there's probably, there's a few, I'm sure, but I'd say the biggest one that jumps out is if they're just pushing you immediately to sign something, that should be a red flag. It really should be. I mean, there's no need for that. Like, let's see if we can help people first, assess the damage, show them the damage, not just say it's up there because, a picture's worth 1,000 words. Let's give them photos, give them video to show them, hey, they're not going to climb on their own roof typically, most of the time. So show them what you found so that everybody's on the same page. Nobody feels like they're trying to hide anything or convince them of filing a claim when they don't have to, like those kind of things. So the biggest red flag is that just high pressure. Come on, sign right here. Sign right here. Come on. That's probably the biggest one that I'm seeing.
Okay. Tell me about the three bid myth. What is that, a myth or is that true? Should you get three bids or not?
Okay, so this is me coming from, I've seen all sides of this. So as an adjuster, as an agent, and as a contractor. So I'm kind of giving you a unique vantage point from that. I mean, if I were a contractor, I'd say, no, you just go with ours, right? Or if I'm an insurance company, no, you just go with our guys, or if you're an agent, and this is something that hardly anyone wants to talk about, and I love insurance agents, please don't, I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus here. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of, not all, but a lot of the insurance adjusters have compensation plans that are tied to how many claims and the amount of money that is paid out of their office. So if you know as an agent that it hurts your pocket, your wallet, if your clients file a claim, and especially if they file a big claim that costs a lot of money, do you want them to file a claim or to find the best contractor in the area, or do you want to try to find a discount for yourself? It's just obvious. It's an obvious answer.
Yeah, lowest as possible. Yep.
Yeah. So your agent, it's very rare that your insurance claims department is going to ask you for an estimate. Super rare. In an instance, because they are required to write the estimate. They have to. That's part of their responsibility. They have to they have to contact you at a certain time or in a certain time frame. They have to assess the damage in a certain time frame, and they need to be able to tell you if it's approved or not and what they're paying for and issue a check. All those things are timed. Like, they have to do those things. So, if they write the scope, if they write the estimate, and it's based off of a fair market value, and your contractor gives you a lower estimate, they're going to ask you for the invoice. And when they see that your contractor saved you $2,000, they're going to say, thank you so much, Paul. You just saved us $2,000. And they're not going to send you the extra $2,000. They're going to keep the discount. So you're only giving them a discount. You're not choosing the best contractor. You're just choosing the cheapest one to save not you any money, to save your insurance company money, because they require those invoices. And unless your contractor is willing to commit insurance fraud and say they charged you what they didn't, then you're not getting that money. The insurance company is.
Got it. And
so,
can I ask you a question about that? So during a storm season or a storm event like this, don't they send in teams of estimators as well. Is that a positive thing or a negative thing? Do you see it when that happens?
Generally, they're going to send in, we call them IAs or independent adjusters. Sometimes they'll send in what we call ladder assist companies. So they're just essentially like a glorified picture taker. They take pictures and they don't really have any authority to say yes or no as far as approval. They don't really write the estimate. They just do the inspection. So you're going to see those two parties quite a bit in a storm like this. You're going to see independents because the locals can't keep up. There's no way the local adjusters can handle this type of volume. So the independents, they are actually incentivized. They don't say it like this, but they're incentivized to write the estimate and to approve it because the larger dollar amount, they get paid more. So it's built on a percentage. It's called a fee schedule. Most of them, not all of them, but most of them are paid on a fee schedule. So they usually get a flat day rate or they get a fee schedule. So in these events, it's usually fees. So, they might get $500 for a claim that's $10,000 or less, and $800 for a $10,000 to $20,000 claim. So they want to write a pretty good estimate. That's what they want to do because it helps you, but it also helps them. And then the ladder assist, they're just there on a day rate or not a day rate, like a per file rate. They'll get paid maybe a couple $100 to just come take pictures, measurements, and send them to the insurance company. So those are kind of the two. It's positive because it gets people answers pretty quickly. It gets them something. It gets them the ball rolling. It's not always the most accurate. You're honestly the independent adjusting world, and I have to admit I was one of them. I was one of them that actually benefited from this. I went online to get after I was an agent, I was like, I want to do claims. So I went online to adjusterpro.com. Shameless plug. I'm not trying to play. I am not endorsed by Adjuster Pro. And I paid $400. I crammed as fast as I could for 3 days and took the test and I passed it. And congratulations. Now I'm an adjuster. Okay.
Wow.
So there are a lot of adjusters that were working a landscaping job or retail or restaurant or whatever 2-3 months ago that this is their first storm. They just got their license. They spent $400 and studied and passed it. And now they're on their first real deployment. And now they're seen as experts by the homeowner, which you and I know they're not an expert. So there's a lot of those people. There's a lot of good ones and very well educated and experienced ones, but there's also a lot of uneducated and inexperienced ones too.
That's great. Yeah. What kind of questions can the homeowner kind of vet them a little bit when they come out just to kind of understand? I mean, would that be beneficial for them to know, hey, this guy just took the class yesterday and that kind of thing? Or does it really, they're not going to have any voice in that process anyway, right?
You can definitely ask those questions and take note. If they say something like, yeah, this is my first deployment, or yeah, I've been doing this for like 3 months, or something like that, or if they ever say things like, wow, I've never seen this type of blank, those are things to take note of in the event that your claim doesn't go in a positive manner and you don't get paid what you think fairly. You don't get paid fairly, you think. Then you can call the claims department and say, look, this guy's not fair. He didn't write a good estimate, and I'll even prove it. I asked him, yada, 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 and he said he'd only been doing this for 3 months or he's never seen this before. What that might do is help them send out another guy or girl that has more experience to give you another shot, a clean slate.
I see. Very good. There's some talk about why some neighbors get approved and others don't. It seems like it's spotty sometimes as to whether my roof got, not selected, but approved. What do you see in that realm? What goes on there?
I mean, one of them we kind of touched on just now. I mean, the adjusters are so inconsistent, as far as experience goes. State Farm might have, a good adjuster on house A, and then house B, they send a different adjuster, and this guy's brand spanking new, and he doesn't know anything. So neighbor 2 or neighbor B doesn't get a very good adjustment, and neighbor A does. And you're like, what? Doesn't seem right. I mean, it's State Farm should be State Farm should be State Farm, right? I'm not picking on State Farm, even though I could. But So, you know, inconsistency with adjusters is probably the biggest one, but there's also another one is a lot of people don't know that they have certain types of coverage. They might have a coverage that's like an ACV policy, like your vehicle. Not a replacement cost to where they're going to pay if your roof, needs to be replaced. They're going to pay exactly what it costs in today's market, not what it cost years ago, what it costs in today. That's what you want. That's the best policy. But a lot of people have ACV policies, so they're going to pay you the used value of that roof. So if it's half of its life, if it's 15 years old on a 30-year roof, they're going to give you half the amount that it takes to replace that roof today. The sad part about it is agents don't always do a very good job of explaining that. When somebody's looking for insurance, they're like, hey, I need to get the cheapest insurance possible. Nobody wants to pay their insurance. I get that. Nobody wants to. Everybody wants a deal. And you know what? As a former agent, I was the same way. Like when someone came to me and they're like, I need cheaper insurance. I'll be like, oh, cool. I'm going to play with the numbers. I'm going to increase your deductible. I'm going to take this coverage away, that kind of thing. Okay, I can get your price wherever you want. But it's a give and take. You're going to get something or you're going to lose something, when you're changing numbers like that. So they don't always do the best job of explaining, hey, your roof is 7 years old. So in 3 years, your policy that we just sold you is going to automatically change over to not a replacement cost policy anymore. It's going to be an ACV policy. And you're going to have to pay a pretty good chunk out of your pocket if you do have a claim. Or they're going to change their deductible to a wind and hail deductible, which is extremely common right now. You're going to have a normal deductible on everything, maybe $1,000, $1,500, $2,500, and then your wind and hail deductible might be $5,000, $8,000. So if you don't know that as a consumer, you're like, great, this guy saved me money. Awesome. I just switched to Geico, whatever, Yeah, I just saved $200 on my insurance. They think it's a good deal and then you have a loss and you're like, oh my gosh, a wind and hail deductible for $8,000? My roof's only worth $12,000. This doesn't even make sense to file this claim at this point, So I see a lot of people shocked to find out the actual coverage that they signed up for. They really didn't know. So you're going to have one happy customer, one unhappy customer, and they could be same company, same street, completely different outcome.
That's cool. And even today, I was thinking about this the other day that, you get that big bundle of paper in the mail with the policy details and all the fine print and all that. I mean, anymore, what I would do, at least as a precaution, if you don't want to read that and it's legalese and et cetera, scan that in or upload that PDF into ChatGPT and say, hey,
what does this
what
mean
should I
in
watch out
terms?
for? Yeah. Or even, look through this whole document and tell me, where I have exposure or something like that, that type of thing.
Idea. Yeah. Using, great technology to be able to do that stuff to kind of make it easier to understand. Because the insurance terminology is not easy. I mean,
no.
Sometimes I feel like it's on purpose that they do that, but who knows? Maybe I'm a conspiracy theorist when it comes to
that. I just think, and it's the same in real estate or whatever, the attorney, they're covering their backside. And so it's going to be wordy and it's going to be detailed. And then you just get lost in the, in the language of it and everything. So I totally understand that. Part of it, and that's their job. That's what they got to do. And so just beware, right?
They're doing good. They're doing a good job.
Yeah. You remember caveat emptor and caveat vendor. This is caveat emptor. You know what? May the buyer beware. Just, read your policy or at least review it, that type of thing. Okay. So talk a little bit about the tensions between roofers and insurance. Is there a lot of tension there? Is it, do you find some easier than others, or what's the situation?
Yeah. I generally like to try to catch more flies with honey than vinegar type of situation. There are a lot of contractors, man. I've heard and kind of been in the same circles of people that have literally, the adjusters gotten on the roof, used the contractor's ladder And then the contractor got mad at him, had a screaming match, and they took the ladder and drove off. And the adjuster was stuck on the roof. Like, I've heard of that several times. Um,
Oh my
or
gosh.
almost getting in fist fights and stuff like that. I'm like, come on, guys. Like, we can agree to disagree, okay? Like, you're not going to agree with every adjuster every time. It's just not going to happen. You don't agree with your spouse every time on every topic, right? How do you expect someone that you don't know, you don't have a relationship with, you don't know their what's going on in their life to agree with you on everything? That doesn't make any sense. So we just have to realize as adults that's just how it is. And I try to ask questions when I'm there with the adjuster, like, I see what you're saying, but what do you think about this? And kind of ask them questions like that just to get them talking. I need more dialogue, right? Not a yes or no. That's not hail damage. That is hail damage. Like, I need to come on, let's talk about it. Well, do you think that could be hail damage because of this, this, and this? Oh, wow. I didn't think about that. So I try to have conversations like that and ask, like, leading questions to get conversation, and that seems to be good. Or one thing that we've been doing with this storm in particular, and it's working really well. I know it's early in the storm, but it's already working really well. Is we're educating the client extremely well up front. We're giving them a very thorough. We actually create a web page for their home of all the photos. We give it to them immediately. We don't charge for any of this, and we literally list out everything damaged that we found, so that when the adjuster comes and they do their inspection and they say, okay, Mr. Homeowner, we're going to pay for your roof, your gutters, your downspouts, and your screens, then all you have to do as the homeowner go, oh wait, what about the fence and the shed and the playground that I've got right here in my photos? Oh, I didn't see that. And they go right back, they take their pictures, add it to their list. Now you have all the ammunition you need to be armed for that meeting. They're going to love you because you're the client. They're going to treat you great. There's not any conflict or any tension with you, but they're going to be a little uptight with contractors. Yeah, I could tell them the exact same thing that you did, and they won't listen to me, but they'll listen to you. So we're finding it very, very good to partner with the homeowner and arm the homeowner with everything they need so they're educated and they're comfortable in the process. And then they just handle the interaction with the adjuster. And it's working great.
That's fantastic. In the so in that process of negotiation, obviously, the smarter you are in that, the better off you're going to be, or at least like you say, knowing what to ask. And then how do you give them the information? Are you typically sending? Do you have a video format, or do you meet with them personally? What's generally how you educate your clients on some of this
Clients,
stuff?
I mean, I have a software called Company Cam, and I'm able to take photos. And then as soon as I hit save, it creates that website, and I text it immediately to the homeowner. So they have that entire website with all the photos. And then I create a little note, a little checklist for them. I found, full roof replacement, full gutters, downspouts on the front and the right side only, window screens on the front and right side only, shed roof, left side of the shed because the paint was chipped, all that kind of stuff. Like, I'll give them a list of all those things, and I text it or email it to them if they prefer. And then they've got all of it in there. Like, they can go, okay, cool. At least I know everything that's damaged. So when the adjuster comes here, if they're moving fast, because they'll be moving fast. There's a lot of claims. I get it. I was in their mode for a long time. It's stressful for them for sure. They're going to miss some things, but this keeps it to where they don't miss very much. They're not going to miss. They may not miss anything in this particular case, and it makes the homeowner feel like they're empowered, like they're not going to get taken advantage of by anybody, and it gets them a fast estimate and a complete estimate in almost every case. So it's it's working out great. They love it.
That's awesome. So if somebody has, in this case, like you said, there's really good chance that they would have leaks, active leaks immediately because of the size of the hail and that type of thing.
Yep.
If they do, obviously the panic mode is going to set in a little bit more, rather than just, I've got some damaged shingles or something like that. Right. So how is that different as far as how they handle that? Because you got to tarp some stuff, you got to get all that stuff done. What generally happens with a client like that that's got, or a tree falls on the house or a limb broke off during the storm. I don't think we had as much wind on this one as
Not
we
much
have
at
in
all.
some of the past. Yeah, which is unusual, really, in a lot of these. What is there anything different there that if they've got an active leak problem
I mean,
immediately, what they would
they
do?
they definitely want to have a roofing contractor come out and at least patch those holes. You could, in some cases, you can just put some sealant on smaller holes. You can do tarps on some larger holes. I've seen a lot of vents like literally ripped off the roof. They were hit so hard with hailstones that they like ripped the vent and then they just blew off with a little bit of the wind that we had. So there's big gaping holes in some people's roofs like that big. And then others I've seen some like around the airport in particular, I've seen some pretty big hailstones that go right through the shingles into the wood decking. So you've got literal holes into your attic. So those need to be
Wow.
fixed, obviously. So, but your insurance company, if you are charged for that, by the way, we don't typically charge for those. We do that complimentary because people are already hurting enough. It's already terrifying enough for everybody, and they're thinking about deductibles and all this stuff like that. We try to help if we can. So if a company does charge you for that, or if you do the work yourself, save the receipt, send it into your insurance company. They'll reimburse you almost every time for that. So make sure you do that because I mean, even if you do the work, well, somebody had to do it, so send them an invoice. Yeah, for
Well,
your
I mean, and you're saving them additional damage, right,
yeah
and additional
drywall,
cost.
insulation, mold, all that stuff. Yeah, you're saving them. You're mitigating the damage. Yeah, I mean, just document what it looks like before with a photo and what it looks like after, and then attach your receipt, and then add. If you had to spend a couple hours doing it, 100, $200, something like that. That's not unreasonable at all to take care of emergency repairs.
That's awesome. Talk a little bit about when they get into, they've done all the process of getting the insurance, they're going to pay a claim, those types of things. Well, now talk a little bit about, selection of materials for the new install and that type of thing, because are there some new, products out there that are more hail resistant than maybe they were 10 years ago, or do you recommend they upgrade to a certain level? Tell us a little bit about the products
Good
and the
question.
roofing.
So I will kind of preface this with almost no roofing system is going to survive what we experienced.
Sure.
It's just
Understood.
not. I
Yeah.
mean, brand new, impact resistant, class 4. No, it's not going to hold up to this kind of stuff. This is super extreme, very rare. But I mean, if we get the hail that we normally get around here, inch and a half or smaller, yeah, a class 4 impact resistant shingle could be something that they would want to look at. They're usually not a ton more expensive. So the ROI might actually make sense, especially if you have a deductible that's 5 grand. It's probably not going to be a $5,000 upgrade. So that might save you from filing your next claim, which saves you a $5,000 deductible. So there's probably an argument for that. But you also got to think too, a lot of people move every 5 or 7 years. So do you really want to spend that extra money? You're not going to get that back out of it. Nobody in the real estate business, if they see a class 4 versus class 3, I mean, would you agree they're not going to pay more for that house if that's the only difference?
I mean, it's a benefit. I always say, okay, so the AC works. We don't promise you it's a new unit, right? Because I have some buyers say, well, the unit's 10 years old, I should get a new unit.
Well,
No,
it's working, but they both work
it's
fine.
working.
Yeah,
Yeah, they work. It's working,
yeah.
that
Now,
type of thing. So
if you had a roof that was worn out or leaking versus one that wasn't, obviously. But if they're
that's
both
different.
working, they're both functional. Your inspector's going to look at both and go, "Yep, they're both working." I mean, I'm not sure how you could look at comps and determine that that one's worth more than the other.
No. And I mean, yeah, it's a nice to have. It's really just a nice to
Exactly.
have.
It's a nice to have. Yeah. Or
Yep.
if there's an extended warranty that's transferable to the new buyer, absolutely. There's some value in that. So, as far as like metal, a lot of people think, oh, metal, it's indestructible. No, it's not indestructible. They also think there's no maintenance. That's not true either. There's a lot of myths on metal. We could go all day on that one. But there are some shingles. There's one out there called F Wave. It is a self healing synthetic shingle. So it has a memory, kind of like memory foam. It's a different product. Obviously, it's not as soft as memory foam, but it when it gets hit and it heats up, it goes back to its former shape. It's pretty amazing. I think there is a level or a certain size of hail that it says it won't protect against. It won't be able to go back, but most of the hail, it will go back to shape. It's pretty amazing. Um, yeah, so wood shakes, those are going to split pretty easy, in something like this. You've also got fire issues with that. A lot of jurisdictions won't let you go back with shakes because of the fire hazard. Um, yeah, I mean, really, with this type of hail, nothing's going to hold up to it, or nothing's really going to be okay after this. It's pretty bad. But yeah, for the normal stuff, we almost always get a class 4 shingle might be good to look at. Most of the shingles that everybody has right now are a class 3, but the class 4 is the next level up. And that might protect you from having to file a claim the next time or two, and when your neighbors have to.
Absolutely. During an event like this, especially, I guess it depends on how widespread it is. Do you see that the suppliers tend to gouge at that point as far as supply? Do your roofing materials go up 20% or 40% during that time frame? They do.
We already got price increase notifications yesterday, and they haven't even sold any product yet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll have 2 or 3 more in the next month. I mean, a month or two. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's kind of like the COVID days. You're like, are they just inflating price because they can? It kind of feels like that because and I won't drop any names, but when shingle manufacturer A sends you an email and says, hey, we're increasing our prices due to whatever supply issue, 8% starting May 1st. And then the very next day, all of the other shingle manufacturers send you the same email because they've also had price supply issues. They don't all have the same supply issues at the same time because some manufacturers own their own rock quarries. So I can guarantee you they're not all having limestone issues if they own the rock quarry and the other company doesn't. Or asphalt refinery and adhesive companies that make the adhesive. Some of these shingle manufacturers own their own plants and some don't. So I can understand if shingle manufacturer A had adhesive issues, but that doesn't mean all the other ones necessarily do. So I think they're all in cahoots, honestly. It's ridiculous.
Wow.
But we can't do anything about it. We can't do anything about it. I mean, it's a monopoly. There's only like 6 or 8 big, massive gorillas in the market. And when one of them raises the price, the very next day or two, they all raise their price. So you have no choice.
So you couldn't go to like Roofers Mart, Michigan, and get a better deal on a CertainTeed pallet or something like that?
Yes and no. I mean, in the local market, no, because they know the demand is going to be so high. But if you wanted to order like a semi-truck or 2 of shingles from another market that's not a hail damage market, a storm market, you could potentially save that way. But you'd have to buy the entire truckload at a time.
Ah, that makes sense. Yes.
I mean, if you want to drop $200,000 on a semi-truck, or whatever that number may be, may not be that much, but you could do that and buy in bulk, but then you're locked into a color too. So what if all your customers want different colors? Well, now you got a whole bunch of black shingles at a good price, but nobody wants them, so that's a challenge. That's a bit of a risk for the owner to do that. So they're kind of like, man, if I'm going to give my customers a choice of color at all, I can't do this.
Yeah. I guess the only time it would make sense possibly is if you have like a condo complex that, you've got a full set.
Apartments yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
A church.
That would make sense. Yep. Sure. Well, great. Mike, this has been fantastic. Do you have anything you'd like to share in closing that we didn't cover? Anything in particular?
Maybe just like 2 warnings to property owners that they think they may have sustained some damage. Number 1 is don't file too quickly. Have somebody come out and assess the damage first, because you don't want to file a claim if you don't need to. So you don't need that on your record. It's not necessarily going to make your rates go up, but it might. Okay, so just be cautious with that. If you don't need to file a claim, don't do it. So have somebody that can really assess it, give you that info, and then the alternative to that, or the opposite, is don't wait too late. Because if you wait too late, I hate to say it, but there's kind of this bandwagon type situation. Like the carriers know they're going to pay for a lot of damage right now. So they're sending in the reinforcements. Everybody's like, okay, you go over here, you pay for that, you pay for that. Everybody's like, okay, we're in the right checks mode right now, right? But you wait 6, 8 months, a year down the road, not only will your policy potentially exclude you from filing a claim because there might be a time frame depending on your policy. If you wait too long to report, you may not be able to be eligible to even file that claim or get paid anything. Or all the reinforcements and the hype and we're paying for everything is gone. Now they're very stingy because they're going to try to make that money back. They're going to try to, they're trying to watch their money big time now, and they're a lot more difficult to work with later than they might be now. So you don't want to do too fast or too slow, but for different reasons.
That's a good point. And I was thinking about I was going to go list a house, and I ended up listing it, and I had some foreknowledge that neighborhood the previous summer had hail roll through there, right? So I asked the homeowner, it was a young couple, it was their first house, and I said, hey, did you guys file a claim during the 2012 hailstorm here? And they go, no, we didn't even think about that, And so we had them come out. Of course, this was like 9-10 months later. It was the middle of December, which is not a great time to put a roof on in Nebraska. But so they came out. Sure enough, there was enough damage to file a claim in that. And a new roof on a house when you're selling it, that's an advantage.
That's great.
That's
Absolutely.
an advantage, right? Yeah. The warranty carries over, all those good things, and it looks great, right? So we went ahead and did it and got it done, and they were very thankful that we did because it sold immediately and everything was good on that. So here was my question behind that. Is there mapping data available to the public that they could say, like, let's say I'm a realtor and I'm going to list a house, near the airport in Springfield. Could I look at a map and see where that impacted most and kind of ask people when I'm listing houses in that area if they took a new roof or whatever?
So as roofing contractors and adjusters, we do have access. Like, we purchase historical weather data, and it shows where the hail was most likely the largest and where it was and all those things. For a consumer, it doesn't make a lot of sense to get that data. I mean, you're looking at $1,500 to $4,000 a year just to have access to something like that.
Wow.
So that doesn't
Okay.
make sense. But the interesting thing is a lot of roofing companies will go on Facebook and post a picture of that hail data from the paid software and just post it freely online. So you can actually go on Facebook and type in hail Springfield, look for the recent ones, and you'll probably find some contractor recently that has taken a picture of it, and you'll go, oh yeah, that's right where my house is. So that kind of gives you an idea right there. That'd be a free and easy way to do it for a consumer to look it up. Or you can just go to, there's a website called Stormer Site, STORMERSITE. You can type in your your location, and it'll give you some data like that. Or I'm trying to think. There's one more, National Weather, the severe historical weather. You can look that up. It's not going to really give you a map and show you where, but it might give you latitude and longitude, or an address where there was a report of some sort of hail, and you can go, okay, well, that was pretty close to that house. So there's a couple ways that you can do it.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I was just looking. I Googled that over here on my other screen, and interesting enough, like today, San Antonio got, it looks like 1-inch hail in that area today.
Oh, there's
so
one
yeah.
more. There's one more, interactivehailmaps.com. That's a great one. That's actually one of the paid services that we pay for, but they have a free consumer guide version. It doesn't give you near as much data as they give us, but you can type in the city and it will tell you every thunderstorm and if it had hail associated with it or wind and wind speed. You can cipher through a ton of data. Like it's not fun to
Yeah.
read, but it's there, if you want to find it. Yeah.
Well, that's cool. That's
Yeah.
cool. I like that kind of stuff. I'll go look at FEMA maps or look at all those types of things, see what goes on if they're floodplain or not, whatever
Oh, yeah.
case may be.
That'd be big with you.
Especially,
Yeah, absolutely.
and with Branson, it's just it's all over the place. Awesome, Michael. Thank you so much for being with us today.
My
It's
pleasure.
great information. If they want to reach out to you, can you give us your contact information real quick,
Sure,
please?
my office number is 417-222-7535. And just leave a message. It's crazy right now, but we're trying to get back to everybody same day. And we're usually getting out to most people same day or next day on our inspections right now. So be a little patient with us. Everybody's overwhelmed in the area right now. It's pretty wild.
Anybody that has a Starlink attached to their moonroof up there like you do has got to be a great guy. So
Got to be able to connect to everybody. Absolutely. I got to be able to answer calls and reply to texts and emails at any time. So it's helpful. Thank you, Elon Musk. Right?
Yeah, no kidding. And my wife watches tornado stuff all the time. When the movies like Twisters, she watched Twisters probably at least once a week. So
I love it. I love it.
Did you know that they had the Storm Par truck here in Branson?
Yeah, on the
Did you
strip,
see
I
that?
saw that. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Scott Velvet or something. I think he has several of those really cool cars. I love how he buys all those movie videos.
I do too.
Yeah,
I do
that's
too.
great.
All right, brother. Well, thanks again for being with us. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me. Have a good day, Paul.
Take care.